Hello everyone, this is Colin once again. I know it's been a while since I've done a video. Been pretty busy with work and school. Currently studying theology at this point in time. And wanted to come on and do this video because I watched another video by the user named Hunter Avallone, who is a young individual here on YouTube who has quite a following. And he occasionally, he's a conservative politically, from what I can tell, a Trump supporter, and does video commentary, usually criticizing the far left and people he perceives as being social justice warriors. Occasionally, he does make videos directed towards Islam and Muslims, and it's to that topic that I would like to respond. I have occasionally commented on some of his videos. I don't know if he actually sees the videos or excuse me, the comments, or if anyone has directed his attention to that regard, but I have asked if he would be willing to have either a conversation online or if he would be willing to actually do a public debate with someone who has studied Islam for a number of years. So I'd like to now directly address Hunter in this video. I should say I have never seen a response to my question, from what I can tell. So I'd like to now address Hunter directly. Hunter, hi, my name is Colin, and I'm the one who has left the occasional comments on your videos asking if you would do a public discussion with someone who has studied Islam for a number of years, whether it's in the form of a podcast or just an online, Google Hangout chat recorded and broadcasted on YouTube. The reason why I'm asking you these questions is I'm curious about your working knowledge of Islam and how much you've actually studied the topic of the religion. You do a pretty good, consistent job of highlighting what you perceive, and rightfully so, when certain Muslims do terrorist attacks, and then ask the question, why is it that these attacks have occurred? You're pretty good about consistently pointing that out and asking really tough questions. So my asking you about your working knowledge of Islam is not meant to be an insinuation that you have no knowledge of Islam, but it's actually a question that I've been thinking about ever since I've watched your videos on Islam and on Muslims. You mentioned Islam as a religion, you mentioned Muslims, you mentioned how some Muslims are totally peaceful, law-abiding citizens, and some Muslims are terrorists, and you make a distinction between Muslims and the religion of Islam, and you also mentioned the Quran, and I just really am curious about how, if you're able to make a distinction between the different types of Islam that exist around the world, whether you can see that there is a difference between the Islam that ISIS practices versus the Islam that is practiced by Muslims here in the United States or elsewhere that are not members of ISIS or Al-Qaeda or any of those extremist fundamentalist groups. Is there room for that distinction? Are you aware that there are variations within the religion of Islam, that there are many different Muslim groups throughout history and in the 21st century that practice Islam differently, they view Islam in different ways? Are you aware of those distinctions? And if you are, could you expound upon those differences for your audience? When you mention the Quran, I'm curious, can you engage with the text in a meaningful way? Can you actually do the three levels of exegesis, and interpretation? Can you actually engage in that way? Or do you just simply mention the Quran in a blanketed statement? Or can you actually engage with chapter and verse and context and history of interpretation? I ask these questions because you do have a pretty substantial following of people, and so when you comment on Islam, I wonder if you are thinking about the big picture. The big picture is what I'm proposing to you. Just mentioning Islam as a religion without making any sort of distinction and then Muslims, without making any distinction of the different types of Islam, the different types of Muslims, seems like a very surface level conversation. When you mention the Quran and you don't mention anything about the text beyond just the Quran, that seems very surface level, very simplistic. Granted, I don't know how long you've even been looking into Islam, how much studying you've actually done, so these questions might seem beyond the scope of where you're at right now in life. I don't pretend to assume that you're an expert when it comes to Islam, nor do I say that I am an expert in Islam. But my experience is I've been studying Islam now for, I would say, about a decade, and used to be a Muslim. I'm no longer one, but I used to be one. And so I am very curious if you can answer these questions. And if, when you're thinking about my questions, if you find yourself thinking, oh, I don't actually know the different types of Islam that exist, or the different types of Muslims, or the different ways in which people approach the Quran, then I would invite you to do more research. I would invite you to watch an excellent video that was a debate between Dr. James White and Abdullah Andalusi. And I believe the topic of, or the title of the debate was Islam, or the Quran and the Bible, or Islam and Christianity in War. But if you type in James White debate and Abdullah Andalusi, you can find this debate. It's a very recent debate. And in this debate, they talk about the Bible. What does the Bible say about violence? What does the Quran say about violence? And Dr. James White is a Protestant conservative theologian, and he has debated many Muslims, and he has studied Islam for a number of years. He's quite controversial in the context of some Muslim apologists really don't like him. So I'm not even asking you to watch someone who's a Muslim apologist or even a liberal, because I know those words might be dirty words in your vocabulary, liberal and apologist. So I offer to you Dr. James White, who's a conservative Christian theologian, who has made it an effort to study Islam and actually engages in debates with Muslims, and does dialogues with Muslims. And so, because when I watch his statements about Islam and violence, he has a much more nuanced view than you do. And so this is why I would encourage you to watch that debate. I would invite you also, I am willing to have a dialogue with you, whether it's on your podcast. I'll be starting an actual new regular podcast coming up with a co-host of mine. My co-host would have to agree to having you on our podcast, but I'm perfectly fine with even doing a Google Hangout, and we can broadcast it live on my channel, your channel. It doesn't really matter, whatever platform we want to use. And so I want to be clear where I'm coming from, Hunter. I'm not coming on here to sort of get some scraps from your popularity, because I've been on YouTube now for, again, almost 10 years, maybe even a little bit over 10 years, and I'm well aware that my channel is not that popular. So I don't make this video with the hopes of suddenly getting tons more subscribers or video or views, because popularity doesn't matter to me. I don't really care about that. And I also want to be clear that I'm not coming on here trying to defend Islam against your whatever people might label your videos as, polemical or what have you. I'm just really, frankly, where I'm coming from is I am a comparative religion nerd. And I am fascinated when I see people talking about religion, and particularly Islam, because Islam is in the news for reasons that you yourself have pointed out. And when I see people talking about Islam in ways that I wonder whether they could learn more about the religion, I invite people to dialogue in that regard. So this is an invitation, Hunter, to have an actual conversation about the religion of Islam, and just explore the variations and see if perhaps there's a way that when you present your critical views of the religion, you come off as somebody who sounds like they've done their research, as opposed to surface level analysis. So send me a message, comment on this video if you'd like. I'm not exactly sure where. I guess I'll post this as a response to your most recent video on Islam. But I look forward to having some sort of conversation with you. If I don't hear from you after I post this video, I will assume that you have zero interest in dialoguing with me, and I will not bother you again. So I wish you all the best. I believe you were live. You were live streaming not too long ago, and you said that you were going to be going like on a college tour. I wasn't sure if you meant like a college tour, like what I hear speakers do when they tour colleges and do like lectures or whatever, or if you meant because you're looking to start college or going to college or something like that. In either event, I wish you all the best of luck with one of those, whatever you meant by college tours. Good luck in either way, whatever it is that you're doing. I hope it's successful for you. Okay, well, take care, Hunter, and for everyone watching this video, thanks for watching. And I'll be doing more regular videos now that I've got, well, don't really have much time, free time, but doing my best to get back on to YouTube to do somewhat regular videos. And I will be advertising and talking about the podcast, the future podcasts that I'll be doing. So stay tuned for more information on that. All right, everyone, take care, and peace be with you all.